Headlines are saying gigantic murder hornets are here in the United States. Should we be worried? How do we protect against these murders? What's going on? This is today's Panda Ponderings. It is Sunday, the 3rd of May. So let's start with this. What is a murder hornet? These are known as the Asian giant hornets, and they're from the genus of the hornet Vespa mandanaria, and they are kind of native to Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. It's a couple of Asian areas. They're like orange and black hornets that are about 1.5 inches long. The workers are, and then about 2 inches long is the queens. And they can have a pretty painful stinger that can be fatal to humans, but only if you're allergic. And the other thing is they can sting more than once. They're not like honeybees where once they sting they die. So these things can be kind of dangerous to people, but let's first start with where are they in the US. And we said that they're mostly in Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. But these headlines are talking about the United States. So the thing is, they've been found in Washington State in late last year. Yeah, that's right. So this is kind of old news. It's not like they just got here. But somehow it's making the rounds in the news again recently, and probably this is due to some seasonal changes. So you're asking, like, how do they murder? Who do they murder? Like all of those questions. Well, first and foremost, let's get this straight. They're not interested in humans, pets, or large animals. They don't really care about us. The deaths that are happening with humans are a byproduct of kind of stepping in the wrong place at the wrong time, that kind of thing. They're not like strategically going after people. They are interested though in honeybees, and that's kind of the problem. But anyways, they have this, the issue with the honeybees is that they have these spiked dagger-like mandibles that can decapitate up to 40 honeybees per minute. So in a matter of hours, they can purge an entire beehive. So some of you are asking, wait, so why is this all in the news? Because if they're not murdering humans, why do we care? Well, first of all, it's not that they're completely not murdering humans. I mean, there are some cases. I mean, first and foremost, you have to understand this. The amount of cases in a 17-year span from 2000 to 2017 of deaths related to any type of bees, wasps, hornets of that ilk is 1,109. Yes, that's right. In 17 years, there were only about 1,000 some odd deaths from these creatures. So why do we care? I mean, if there's so few deaths, why do we care? Well, again, it's going back to the honeybees, and them going after the honeybees is really important to our food ecosystem because one thing, bees pollinate. So some of you, I hope that you've learned this in like elementary science classes, but if you haven't, here's a little lesson on what pollination is. So pollination is basically plant reproduction. It is a transfer of pollen from the male part of the flower, which is called the anther, to the female part of the flower, which is called the stigma. And when these two parts meet, so to speak, a plant's like seed or nut or fruit is formed, and then that creates more plants. And this helps us in a number of different ways. First of all, I think you need to understand about like pollen. We or pollination. In order to feed the world's growing population, we need more and more food, and there must be more diverse and balanced and good quality food for the well-being of humankind. Well, bees, they provide the pollination process for these plants to occur. But beyond just the pollination process, which I'll go into, they also provide high quality food of their own. For instance, they provide honey, royal jelly, and pollen. And these things are superfoods, for us. Like, for instance, honey is better than sugar, just as an example, to be used as a sweetener for us. So But going back to the pollination process, their biggest contribution is that honeybees are pollinators that pollinate nearly 3/4 of the plants that produce 90% of the world's foods. Some of the popular foods that we enjoy today wouldn't be with us if we lost honeybees. Those include things like broccoli and asparagus and cantaloupes and cucumbers and pumpkins and blueberries and watermelons. Watermelons are a big thing because my son loves watermelons. So if bees weren't here and he didn't have watermelons, we'd have a very sad 3-year-old. But in addition to that, it also like almonds and apples and cranberries and cherries, all these things require that. But not only do they help to pollinate, the pollination process also helps to create genetic and biotic diversity, which is the key to the health of the plants. In other words, think of it this way. It's like you don't want inbred plants like you don't want inbred people. It's as simple as that. I know it's kind of gross, but just bear with me on that. The thing is, the bees, they tend to focus their energies on one species of plant at a time. And because of them visiting the same flowers of a particular species in one outing, this ensures a much higher quality pollination. And what it does is then it produces an even distribution of vital pollen from others of its same species. And it creates that, diversity within the genome of the plants. But not only is it important for the quality of our food and the genetic diversity, but also, like, I don't know if you know this, our farming, our economics is dependent on it, especially our farming industry. Because over the past 50 years, our amount of crops that we are dependent on pollination has tripled. Not only due to the quality increases, not only does this affect the quality because we're trying to pollinate more, but the health of the plant themselves is affected by this pollination process, because when they do the pollination, it also enhances the plant's ability to resist other pests. And so that's important because it keeps those crops healthy and alive and not prone to being diseased or destroyed by other pests. And I don't know if you know this, but the farming industry is dependent upon these pollinators up to a point of our annual global production of food that directly depends on pollination was worth up to $577 billion a year. Yes, that's right. It is huge. So what can we ponder about this? What can we think about this? Well, I think there's two ways to look at this. First of all, you need to care. And here's why you need to care. Because there's two ways to look about this. Number one is, first and foremost, for those who are like, hey, well, the Asian giant hornets aren't really affecting me. They don't really kill humans. I think you should look at it this way. It's like, look at how interconnected we are to one another. Humans to other humans, humans to animals and insects, to our world, etc. All the above. I think we forget how knit we are to everything, and how we often take things for granted. And, not caring about the honeybees will affect for you, your crops, your food, all the above that is necessary for sustaining your life later on as well. And the second is that even if you weren't looking into how connected we are, sometimes just taking interest in doing something for the sake of others might just do your own spirit and soul good. And sometimes it just is good to care about things other than ourselves in this world. Either way, I think there's an importance to look at this and understand the news that's going around. The news isn't always the most current news, but it could be important to know and understand. Scientists are trying to create ways that we can trap these Asian giant hornets or keep them away from, destroying the honeybee population. And I think we should take notice of that because there are probably things in our world today that are affecting us that we don't know about. And the more knowledge that we do have about them, the more that if we choose to, we could do something about it. So that's today's pondering, and I hope that you're enjoying it and that you're having a great weekend. And I'll see you again later. Bye.